has got a girl on it.
Saturday it is, the 12th day in the month of August 2017. We got Britain Horn with a view from the outside. Britain, good morning to you.
Good morning to you, Randy. Saturday the 12th of August, indeed. How are you this morning?
I'm doing good. A view from the inside, noticed that they're playing war games, serious war games out there, and it's getting closer to us here in the Caribbean. Trump is now talking about Venezuela.
Oh yes, and you're quite right. The North Korean USA tussle is very real, and Kim Jong-un of North Korea, president of North Korea, he's not letting up, and so President Trump is not letting up either. We have heard China warning President Trump not to use language that exacerbates the tension in the region and to stop ramping up the rhetoric, so to speak. But Trump seems not to be backing down. The North Korean president, Kim Jong-un, seems not to be backing down. And so the issue of war is very real and could well happen depending on what President Trump decides to do.
Remember that America...
we are seeing images of... I'm so sorry, Randy. We're seeing images of F-1 bombers, American F-1 bombers stationed in Guam. You know, so, and Angela Merkel, the whole international community is concerned and worried about what's happening. And as you said, it's coming closer home. It's coming towards Venezuela too.
Well, Trump is of the opinion that if he ramps up the pressure on North Korea, China would do something, that China must do something.
Well, China is of the opinion, I gather, that if war indeed breaks out between the two nations, they are not going to do anything. They're going to stay on the sidelines.
Well, that is
because
not actually...
China does have a lot to lose if they take one side or the other, so to speak. And I understand that their position is that they may well not do anything.
Well, what they're really saying, Britain, is that if North Korea starts it, they're going to stay on the sideline. But if America starts it, they're going in on North Korea's side.
Randy, I guess it's a matter of perception. And but whichever way it happens, whether they stay on the sidelines or they go in on one side, it is not good for the international community. And this is something that we all need to keep our eyes on, because as I said, the entire international community is worried, concerned, and alarmed at what's happening.
Yeah, and Venezuela, Maduro tried to have a chit-chat with the president, and he says to restore the democratic process first before I can speak with you.
Well, we all know that democracy is probably, some people describe it, I should say, as an illusion. But any objective person looking in on what's happening in Venezuela would think that the Venezuelan people, if nothing else, need to be relieved of the suffering that they have been put through within recent times. No matter what anyone says, the people, the ordinary folk in Venezuela are suffering from lack of basic supplies and other things. And if there's anything anyone can do to restore that level of basic living to the ordinary people in Venezuela, I think it ought to be done.
Even if it is Trump who, a lot of hypocrisy into the whole story, because he's on the fire in his country for a whole lot of stuff.
Oh yes, and Randy, some people will tell you that politics and politicians is just based on hypocrisy. But having said that, Donald Trump has made it no secret of his. In fact, right throughout the primaries and his selection as the Republican candidate and him winning the presidency, he has made no secret that he will not sit back and without voicing an opinion on events, and he's certainly doing so. I'm no great fan of the President of America at the moment, but I say whatever can be done to restore civility in Venezuela needs to be done, because no one can tell us that the situation that is happening in Venezuela is ordinary, and it is a situation which ordinary people ought to live through or need to live through on a daily basis.
How's it looking in England? We got a good morning right here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, some early morning showers, but got a good feel to it.
It's good. The weather is looking good. In fact, it's quite similar to last week. It's 21 degrees Celsius, which is approximately 70 degrees Fahrenheit. And, it's mainly cloudy, but there's some sunshine around. So it's pretty good weather. Let me say good morning to all of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, all of our listeners, in fact. I want to say a special good morning to a friend of mine who I heard sent out a call to me to say hello. Dave Roberts. I hope he's listening, and if he's not, I hope somebody tells him that we are still friends, and I send my greetings by hello to him. Randy, I can't let you go without saying that Brother Oscar Allen will be laid to rest tomorrow, I understand. I must thank Jerry George for having put out a video last night, a video to the entire world, showing the march into Diamond Village, to the Earl in Horn Square, where there was a memorial for Brother Oscar Allen. And I want to say again to his family and friends and relatives, I want to extend our deepest condolences to him, to them, and hope that Brother A rests in peace. I can't not say that I actually credit my own consciousness and awareness of struggle and fight against oppression and injustice to him. Mainly in part, I credit that to him. I regret that I am unable to witness him being laid to rest. But wherever he is, I would like him to know that he has left an indelible mark on me. And I want to say, thank you, Brother A, and I truly hope that you rest in peace as you continue to educate and edify from wherever you are. Again, Randy, I can't let you go without telling you that the English football season has started this weekend. In fact, it started last night. And my own team, the team which I support, I am pleased to report, came back and put in a Herculean effort and beat Leicester City 4-3. That is Arsenal, just in case you don't know. I think currently Liverpool is playing Watford. I don't know what the score is because the kickoff was about 12 o'clock. I'm sorry, 12:30. On a view from the outside this week, Randy, we look at the issue of critical thinking, with the view being that in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the skill of critical thinking needs to be taught, encouraged, and practiced so that we, the people, the citizens, make better informed decisions which affect our country and our own future on a daily basis. The Cambridge Dictionary describes critical thinking as the process of thinking carefully and thinking carefully about a subject or an idea without allowing feelings or opinions to affect what we think. And about critical thinking, the American poet Adrienne Rich said, "Responsibility to yourself means refusing to let others do your thinking and talking for you. It means learning to respect and use your own brains and instincts." It has been said that as an emerging and developing nation, Vincentians generally need to apply more critical thinking in our daily discourse, especially on radio and on social media. Yes, it has been said that too many of us are not thinking carefully enough about a subject or an idea before responding to it. Too many of us allow the opinions and feelings of others to tell us what to think and even how to think. Too many of us do not accept the responsibility to think for ourselves. Too many of us do not use our brains to engage and reason things out. Too many of us allow politicians and their agents to think for us and tell us what to say. And it is because of all that why there is so much acrimony and the perpetuation of tribalism in the country. Such lack of critical thinking does not benefit the country. In fact, on the contrary, such lack of critical thinking is contributing and destroying the fabric of our Vincentian society. In recognition of this problem, one person posted the following on Facebook. I quote, "Thinking out loud. Sometimes we need to take our blinders off. There is far too much information readily available to hold on to uninformed and narrow perspectives. Are we expected to simply echo the views of others?" Reginald Clark, one of our African lecturers, always reminded us to be educated is to be enlightened. And if indeed we are, then we should be able to form our own opinions and draw our conclusions independent of others. Shake my head, unquote. That quote was by a Vincentian. Critical thinking skills are not ones which develop overnight necessarily. In fact, the experts encourage us not to indoctrinate our children, but we must teach them. We are encouraged to teach the children how to think, not what to think. Teach them how to make decisions for themselves. Teach them how to disagree. Let them know that it is all right to disagree with others, and that even if they disagree, they should and ought to do so with civility. Teach them not just to simply accept things, but to develop the attitude to question things. Teach them to be curious and to have a burning desire to learn and to seek evidence and to be open to new ideas. Teach them to be skeptical and not just accept one premise or one idea. Teach them not to blindly believe what they are told. Teach them to have humility, to admit when their ideas and opinions are wrong, especially when faced with other convincing evidence. And while we teach the children those skills, we must ensure that we learn and develop them too. If we teach our children those skills, and we ourselves learn and practice them, then we are more likely to have a society where people will not just repeat blindly what the politician says without questioning what the politician wants them to say and believe. When we call on our politicians, especially the ones who occupy the positions in government, to provide us with accountability, we must expect them to provide that accountability. It is important to think critically and to demand that accountability until it is provided to us. It is important that we know our rights. It is important to know that when our Constitution, which is the supreme law of the land, tells the politician that he or she must provide accountability, then they must do so irrespective of what excuses they may want to come up with. It is important that we use our brains and question our politicians when they try their utmost to avoid accountability. We must not just regurgitate or repeat what that politician or those politicians and their agents tell us without asking critical questions. If the politician or politicians spend millions of dollars on any one project, for example, the Argyle International Airport, or on several projects, monies which they appropriated in the parliament of the country, they must provide accountability to us. We must think beyond party, because it has nothing to do with party, but it has everything to do with getting the answers that we rightfully demand and that we are rightfully entitled to. Think beyond self. Stop being selfish. Stop being greedy. Think of country. Demand answers. If that kind of thought is encouraged and practiced, then our country and future generations will no doubt benefit immensely. When we know that healthcare is at an all-time low in the country, that there is currently one anesthesiologist at the lone general hospital in the entire country, that the main hospital and other clinics around the country lack basic medical supplies, that the government has been named as one of the worst payers of its debts for medical supplies, then we owe it to ourselves not to simply accept the excuses and the spin, because we know how important healthcare is to all of us. We know that it ranks very high. As far as we're concerned, healthcare is paramount. We owe it to ourselves and our children to demand better. That's what critical thinking requires us to do. That's what critical thinking is about. It must be said that critical thinking is really about common sense. If you do not have to be an academic to apply critical thinking. You do not have to be a professional to apply critical thinking. Critical thinking is not limited to any one group or groups. It is not limited to any one person or persons. Everyone has the ability to engage their critical thinking skills. And we, on A View from the Outside, definitely encourage everyone to do so. Let us all engage our critical thinking skills so that we emerge as a better nation and people. And while we do so, let us be mindful of the words of Christopher Eric Hitchens, the Anglo-Saxon author, who said, "The essence of the independent mind lies not in what it thinks, but how it thinks." Let us all develop that independent mind. Until next week, Randy, this is Brayton Horn with A View from the Outside, with a reminder to all our listeners to send feedback to A View from the Outside at hotmail.com. That's A View from the Outside at hotmail.com. Randy, have a pleasant Saturday. Have a fruitful Sunday. and have a critical thinking week ahead.
Burton, thank you.
Thank you.